Dead ball dancing. Justin, it is almost hot enough to turn the fan back on in the studio.
Dude.
It's like 82 today. I'm loving it.
I hate it. Whatever the hedgehog came out of the ground and said it was supposed to be more winter weather, and we're not seeing it here. I'm tired of it being light late. I'm tired of the heat. I want cold and I want darkness. I'm also not feeling well, viewers, by the way. I'm dealing with a little bit of a stomach bug, so that's why I'm a little bit testy today. Sorry, Rick. You know I love you.
Well, you might be feeling a little sick, but you know what makes me sick? Good basketball teams playing like shit. I don't know what it is this season. So all jokes aside, this has been one of the most entertaining seasons. But certainly from an analysis standpoint, it's been difficult to pick our spots because seemingly, I'll exclude the top 5, 7 or so teams, understanding Tennessee's moved in and out of there a couple times, but seemingly everyone else from 8 to 45 can win any game on any night in any situation with or without their stars. It's been fun. It's been interesting, but frustrating to analyze.
I mean, we're hitting on some of these games. That's what's weird, right? Is like I feel like we're hitting on some of the game of the weeks too, right? Like, the lines are like 6 points. Let's look at the last week's, right? Florida, Tennessee. You and I were like, we think Tennessee, right? But Tennessee by like 5, not 25. Like right. Some of these teams are playing so bad. To your point, it's like the games aren't even close. Like it's been very interesting. But again, we spoke about it all season, right? I think that NIL is just really evening some things out. So I'm interested to see how that affects the tournament too, right? It's going to be crazy. So
absolutely.
I'll tell you what. Before I jump in, like I warned everyone, I'm testy today. So before I get into my super analysis, I want to talk about 2 things. You know how you didn't like Rutgers, and you don't like the way they play, and like you're just like I just don't like it, right? I feel that way about Texas. So when Texas loses, I feel very validated. You know what I mean? It brings me like warmth. They're like clinging to the shadows of Kevin Durant at Texas, and I just don't like the way they play. I don't like their coach, and I'm happy that they lose. So I wanted to start with that. Any comments there?
Yeah, down 2 in our overall rankings. I moved them out of my top 10.
Yep.
They're too streaky. They're too inconsistent. You know, we've talked about some of the good, but a lot of the bad comes through too. 29th in KenPom, they're 30th and 35th in offensive and defensive. I mean, they're a solid team, but I think it's totally fair to not rank them. I think it's totally fair to expect more from them because they just haven't performed in a way that means anything really.
Right.
They'll jump up and get somebody and then they'll lose a game inexplicably and like shoot like 20% from the floor. So I don't know.
Consistency seems to be the key struggle for a lot of these teams this year, right? I mean, we've said it: Kentucky, Texas, Gonzaga, all these teams, right? They're going to be a tournament team. There's no doubt about that. They have enough good wins to outweigh the bad losses, right? So they will be a tournament team, but they're under 500 in the SEC, and there's teams that are hungrier than them, I think, that will end up getting a better seeding in the tournament because of that hunger. Now, you see on my notes here, quickly throw a curveball Rick's way. Will he be prepared?
Man, you do. Give me 3 seconds. Chain link just cycled. So set it up. Set it up for me.
All right. So I got 2 teams for you, right? Team 1, number 8 in KenPom. Don't look at your notes. Number 8 in KenPom, 17-5 overall, 9-2 in conference, with wins over Alabama, Ole Miss, Maryland, Nebraska, Oregon, and a 30-point win.
This is Purdue.
Okay, so you got team 1, right? Team 2, 20th in KenPom, 16-5 overall, 8-2 in conference. Their wins are Xavier, Wisconsin, UCLA. Losses, Wake Forest, Oklahoma, Minnesota, Arkansas, and Purdue.
So it's a Big Ten team who scheduled okay, which means it has to be quadrant 1.
They're on our top 25 here.
They're on. Okay, so I was going to say Rutgers, Penn State, or Michigan, so it's got to be Michigan.
There you go. Good job. Which team is better?
Purdue. It's not close.
Okay. the reason why I'm you know where I'm going with this.
I know exactly what it is. I have Michigan at 18. I have Purdue at 20. And dear viewers, I hope that exercise just showed you. I know. I just also like putting Purdue lower than they should be to keep these rankings balanced and or to just give Justin something to think about from time to time.
The amount of prep, and he did it. The amount of prep that I did for team 1-2 team analysis right there, that took me like 15 minutes. So I'm pissed off that he agreed with me, but at least we both know agree to disagree. I mean, we all talk about our biases.
Well, what I will say is that Purdue 30th in defense in Ken Palm.
Fair.
Defensive efficiency rating, right? Yeah. Michigan, hold on, 20th in offense, 25th in defense. I think if you put these teams on the same court, Purdue wins the game every single time. That is not how I've done my rankings this year. We've dove into kind of my methodology a few times. I think right now, Michigan is a better team. They should be ranked higher. They've done more in the spots I expected them to do more, where Purdue, in my opinion, at least has underperformed in some spots. We'd like to see them win by 20. Right? They haven't really lost more than a game that they probably shouldn't have lost.
Penn State.
But like I want you to win by 20 if you're the class of the Big Ten, kind of like we're seeing in the SEC, right? Auburn, well, this week Auburn has some tight games, but so far in this season, they were blowing teams out where they're supposed to be. So that's what I want to see. So I think given the resume, Michigan has played better in their games, even though they're a worse team.
Yeah. And I like that. That's why I like when we bring our ratings together and they're weighted the same too. Cause it's like, I like the way that you do your rankings, and I love your rankings. Honestly, I like the way you do it. And like for me, it might be a little backwards, but I rank the teams based on their quality of losses, right? And Marquette, Auburn, Texas A&M, Ohio State, all pretty good losses by Purdue. You want them to win, like Ohio State and Marquette, obviously. Penn State's a bad loss. And then I'm looking at Michigan, right? And it's Wake Forest, Oklahoma, Minnesota. They lost by 30 to Purdue and Arkansas. So it's like I'm trying to figure out, like, you're right, because efficiency-wise, like, Michigan has depicted to be the better team. But, man, I just, like, some of those losses just freak me out. Anyways, those are my 2 talking points to start. I got more. I want to kick it over to you.
Well, we kind of hit all around it, so I just wanted to mention really quickly the cannibalization in the Power 3. Yes, viewers, the Power 3. I am not going to pretend like the ACC and the Big East matter. More on that later. The Big 10, the Big 12, and the SEC are the only conferences of note in college basketball. At me. I'm on Blue Sky now. We've talked about it all year. We've talked about how, we've got 12 SEC teams in the top 25. Well, they have to play each other. Right? It's the joke we made. Like, the SEC is only 500 in conference play. So like someone has to lose every game that's played. Every single time these SEC teams play each other, someone loses. And we're seeing that in the Big 10. We're seeing it in the SEC. We're seeing it a lot in the Big 12. The Big 12 has had a shakeup as things move around there. But I mean, it's what we expected. So I think what's going to be really interesting is we're running out of season here. So in the next 2-3 weeks, right before we solidify for the push to March, who is going to win the games that they should be winning? Who's not going to lose the games that are traps? You're really going to see that. I think, I think all teams but two or three in our rankings moved this week. And I would expect more of that. And unlike early in the season where we were kind of oscillating between how do we rank, where do we put these teams, getting more data, like, oh my God, we didn't know this team was this good. Now it's more, are you going to win 3 games in 8 days against the toughest teams in your conference and come out the other end the team we thought you were? So I'll be interested to see how that moves.
And we knew it. Like, I don't know. We've talked about it so much too, right? About how we knew that these top 25 teams are going to have to play each other. But I don't know why every single time, like especially this past week, I look at all like the games and the winners and the losers and the huge upsets and all the movement on our board. I still get surprised. I'm like, yeah, we knew it was coming, but like still it's like, Jesus Christ, like what a set of movement we had this week. 2 new teams on here, right? One absolutely doesn't deserve to be on there. One does. But yeah, I think, we're not done seeing this, especially in the Big 12 where good call by you early in the season. Texas Tech legitimately looks like the best team in the Big 12 other than Arizona. So gonna be a wild ride in conference play. And speaking of the Big 12, I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. So it's officially time for me to issue a public apology to my wife and the University of Arizona for the massive disrespect and horrific words that I said about them early in the season, as well as Caleb Love. I think I was like calling him a piece of garbage, and I just was not being a very nice person. So Caleb Love, if you watch this podcast, I apologize. 14th in offensive efficiency and 24th in defensive efficiency, according to Ken Palm. It doesn't, and the reason why I wanted to talk about them this week, Rick, is because we actually watched the game versus ASU, and I have not seen a more physically imposing team live, college-wise, than what I just saw in that game. Their guards, 7 minutes into the game versus ASU, had 11 rebounds between Love, Bradley, and Lewis. 7 minutes into the game. They're athletic. They're physical. They out-rebounded them 52-34. 96% from the free throw line. And Love had 27, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 turnovers. I'm sorry, Caleb Love. I apologize. This team is scary. And they're not on notice because I think I had them on notice last week, but they're up 2 spots for us this week. I think they're finally starting to get the respect from Ken Palm and us that they deserve. They're 23rd in the country in scoring offense. They're 29th in free throws made per game. They're 36th in assist turnover ratio, and they're 19th in the country in fast break points. And again, we talk about trends like we did last week, right? 14 out of 21 games year to date, they've shot above 46% as a team. That's pretty impressive. And you think, okay, well, that explains the offensive efficiency side of the ball. Then you talk about that 24th defense ranked efficiency. They're outside the top 100 in points per game. They're at 69, but their field goal defense is 31st. Their steals is 46th. And 13 times out of 21 games, they've held opponents to under 42% from the field, including 7 out of 10 Big 12 games. This team is on a roll. And if you let them get to the glass, where they're 18th in the country in rebounding, there's not going to be a team that can beat them, like straight up. Now, big call out here. My second biggest game of the week, separate than the one that we'll talk about later, BYU versus U of A tomorrow at 9 p.m. Arizona's time. That is going to decide a lot about the trajectory of both of those teams. Really excited to watch that one. If you don't tune into Gar Game of the Week, please tune into that one. Although, just letting you know, I do have Arizona, and I have Arizona pretty handily in that game. Just wanted to say I'm sorry, and I was wrong.
And you look at some of the games that they lost early.
Yeah.
And as the season's kind of shaked out, they're games that weren't bad losses at the end of the day.
Nope.
But I think at the end of the season, the Big 12 is going to be looking at this, and TCU let one get away, and Cincy let one get away, and UCF let one get away. It's like this team, this Arizona team, wouldn't be in the position to close out the season, right? Because nothing changed from the end of last year till now, really. They turned over.
I know what you mean.
14 points a game, but
it's
the same team. They recruited the same. Like, this team went in as a favorite because they should have been one of the best teams in the Big 12. So in these tight games that they won on other people's court, like 72-67 Cincinnati at the beginning of January, the Bearcats, if the Bearcats are one of the first 4 teams out, that's a game you look at because they blew that game.
Yep.
And that's what you got to beat these power teams when they're off their game. Because as you're saying now, you read through the stats. I mean, Arizona is going to be at the end of the year what we expected them to be at the beginning of the year.
Correct.
They're going to get there.
Yep, they are.
So I went out of my way this weekend. I watched almost no big conference basketball.
Nice.
I watched a ton of mid-majors.
Talk to me.
I just want to remind you and everybody else that there's like 350 teams that play college basketball, and there's some really bad basketball being played. Really bad. I'm not going to jump ahead to my first on notice team, but
Oh,
I actually took paper notes because I was trying to stay off my phone for a lot of the game. It said it really makes me appreciate St. John's, Texas Tech, Clemson, Texas A&M, just for their consistency. Right? Those aren't the best 5 teams in the country. Those are 4 teams that I can sit and watch and know what I'm going to get and appreciate the way they bring themselves to the court, because there are a lot of mid-majors and whatever we're calling the section below mid-majors, mid-minors, big minors. We should probably coin that. Like, there's probably a term. These teams are bad. There's a lot of really bad basketball being played, but also found some gems. In there. Watch Drake. Watch VCU. So impressed with the way these teams put themselves together with lesser talent.
Yep.
They're both in my top 25 this week. If you're going to be one of these big schools that has all the money in the world and all the recruiting ability in the world, and you look like shit or you look inconsistent, like I'm gonna start digging down. And if you're a mid-major, who we've talked about, right? The Drake and VCU, we've talked about ad nauseum. They're not new, but I'm gonna find some more. I'm gonna find some more gems, because there are teams playing at a really, really high level that they're not really top 25 teams, but they are absolutely tournament teams.
Right.
And those are the teams you get scared about, right? You remember how scary it was to play Florida Gulf Coast?
They stole some games as a 15 seed, didn't they?
Yeah, and those are the teams I'm going to try to find. I'm going to try to find a couple of those to bring to our viewers and be like, hey, look, this is a team I've ranked at 25. They are not a top 25 team, but they can beat your school come March.
I'm having a difficult time, because you talked about VCU last week, so I won't beat them to death, but I'm having a difficult time keeping Drake out of my top 25. They're not in my top 25 right now, but they're the number 2 defense in the country behind Tennessee. And they're not playing nobodies. They're going to run through that conference. Whoever has to play them in the tournament, like, I want to know what the BPI chance on that is. Like, that might be a 50-50 game, because Drake is no joke. And you'll know, I'm with you too. Like, I've started to dig down a little bit myself. You'll notice one of my unnoticed teams. We'll get to that a little bit later. There's teams that deserve it. I believe I took, just so everyone knows, I took Illinois, Xavier, and Texas out. And actually St. Mary's, and I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder, went into mine. So I'm starting to kind of think the similar way as you. And I like it.
I'm looking forward to that conversation with St. Mary's. I only had one more note, general top 25. But real quick, want to call out Mizzou with a big jump, Marquette, Mississippi State, Illinois, Kansas, Iowa State, obviously down, and then Texas Tech up into the top 5. But I watched the Notre Dame game, and I'm going to throw some shade. I know we got some Indiana fans, Indiana people.
Yeah, just Purdue. They hate Notre Dame. My dad's watching.
I'm going to disparage the state, which is why I'm calling it, like, not Indiana people, but like Indiana people, you know?
Yeah, I think
watching Notre Dame basketball helps remind me why they will never join a big conference in football. It's a shitty place to live. It's only important because Rudy came out 40 years ago, and they're not good. They're not good at all. And I understand they were just in the national championship, but you saw. Play a conference schedule. You won't have one loss. You won't be undefeated. Play a real conference schedule that doesn't have the jokes of college football in it. Get out of here, Notre Dame. I don't want to watch any more Notre Dame this year.
Interesting. It's almost like playing a conference schedule should have weight on your seating, or like how good your team is.
I dislike that you backed into the Gonzaga argument.
Yeah, sorry
with
about
Notre
that.
Dame, but it was fair. It was a fair shot. Notre Dame deserves to be in this new Crown tournament they made up just for TV ratings.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about that. Maybe we'll cover on that when we do bracketology or something. I don't know. I've never heard of that tournament.
Yeah, the Big East should all be in the Crown tournament. Like, give me whoever wins it and put all the rest of them like dump them in the Crown. So,
including UConn. Screw UConn.
I chose my words carefully. All right, well, I guess let me just launch it and we'll talk small conference stuff. We'll talk small conference. St. Mary's.
Okay.
I have on notice this week, but I have them on notice because I think they're on the up and up here. To use your kind of phrasing, they're an upwards team.
I like that.
Top 35 offense and defense. Whether you take Ken Palm or BPI or net or pretty much whatever you want, they're 16th in total rebounds in the country. I did not put them in my top 25.
I did.
Because they lost to an ASU team you keep making me go watch, and that is a horrible basketball team.
Not a
so
good
that
team.
loss looms big for me. But
Fair.
they've been consistent. Yeah. Obviously, big win over the Zags, big win in air quotes because the national media and even KenPom rankings have Gonzaga up big. But so it counts. It counts as a big win, right? And they beat them on their home court, but they beat them. St. Mary's is going to win the West Coast Conference.
Yes.
And St. Mary's winning the West Coast Conference with probably 2 wins over Gonzaga makes them a 4 line.
Yep.
And a 4 line pulls a weaker seed. And I'm not convinced that they wouldn't be able to parlay that into 2 tournament wins. So I'm intrigued to see. Obviously, you keep winning, and that's why I have them on notice, right? Like St. Mary's is been second fiddle for as long as Gonzaga's been Gonzaga.
Yep.
But this is their year. They're going to win the West Coast Conference. So what I need to see from them is wins with purpose. You need to beat the shitty teams in your conference by 30. You beat Gonzaga and the team you're going to talk about by double digits every chance you get. Is be convincing.
Yep.
But on notice for me because I think this St. Mary's team is kind of rounded into form. And if you can out rebound your opponent on both ends of the court, your second chance points plus decent offense should put you in position to win games.
Agreed. And it's their I mean, they're clearly the best team in that conference. We had some bad losses, I think, early, but I think that was non-conference, including ASU. There's not really a team that can test them. I can see my team that I have on notice here maybe clipping them once or getting them in the tournament if they're completely locked in.
Oregon State kind of scared me as I was looking at the stats, but
well,
who's afraid of a beaver?
Yeah, I mean, if nobody, but Oregon State also beat Gonzaga by 8 or 10 or whatever it was. So they're not a bad team. Gonzaga is. Like the St. Mary's call out. I'm going to stick in the same conference, actually. I had my eye on this team for a little bit of time here. San Francisco. They're 14-0 at home with a good test of teams early in the season. You got Memphis, I believe, at number 24 and ranked even higher in the AP. They probably should be higher. I don't have them ranked because I don't like the way they play. They only lost by 4 to Memphis. That's a really, really good loss in my opinion. And they got some big chances. They got Mary's on Thursday and Gonzaga again on the 13th. So I'm excited to see what they do there. And I like the way this team plays, man. Defensively, they're just outside the top 50 in scoring defense at 67 points a game. They're 56th in the nation. They're 19th in the country in 3-point percentage defense, only allowing 29% per game. Their perimeter execution of their defensive strategy is very impressive to watch. I watched one of their games early in the season. I was like, man, these guys are flying around. Hell of a team on the defensive side of the ball. They're forcing about 14 turnovers a game, which is middle of the pack, top third in D1 at like 97th in the country. But again, against a really good Memphis team, they forced them into 15 turnovers to 8 assists. So I really like their defensive scheme. Offensively, they're not tremendous. Their free throw shooting needs a little bit of work. They're only converting about 70% out of 21 attempts, but they're getting 21 attempts a game. I like their strategy. They're 71st in the country in effective field goal percentage at 54.1. That's pretty damn good for a team that had struggled in a pretty weak WCC in the past. So, they're 62nd in the country in made threes. They're making about 9.5 to 10 a game. And they're at top 100 at 35% on 3-point percentage a game. So I think this team, I don't know if we're talking about a USF team that doesn't win the conference tournament not getting in. I think they have enough pedigree in their schedule and enough good wins to where even if they don't get through the conference tournament to get that auto bid, I think they got a shot to get in that large. They're going to be a lower seed. They would be, a 10 or lower, obviously, right? But we're talking about these mid-majors that might be able to steal one against a pretty inconsistent Power 3. I like their chances, man. And I'm really hoping that the tournament committee gives them a shot because it's really fun watching this USF team play. So I wanted to put them on notice because I think they deserve it.
I'm hoping that this bullshit crown tournament thing has the committee put in some of those fringe teams that normally would be like the class of the NIT.
Yeah.
Because like the crown has, we won't waste too much time talking about, but they have like committed bids to the Power 4.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that makes the committee put in some of these fringier teams that should be in the tournament instead of shucking them down to an NIT that's essentially meaningless at this point.
Yeah. Because, that would be cool, right? You would think St. Mary's is probably, even if they lose the conference tournament, they're getting in. Gonzaga, I really hope doesn't get in, but they're getting in. And then if USF snags a at large, that's 3 from the WCC, man. Like that would be really cool to see a small little conference do that. So
absolutely.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Why don't you take us to a really interesting on notice next?
Yeah, so as I said, I watched a lot of mid-majors. I put Drake in my top 25, and quite frankly, I did it as soon as we got off the show last week. I knew I wanted him in there. I was going to do it. So to have an opportunity to watch the second and third place teams, I watched the Bradley UNI game. But really quickly, I want to shout out the Missouri Valley Conference because branding is so important, right? With these mid-majors, it's almost like the Heisman, right? Where you got to like get out there and put out like hype videos for and like get the billboards and stuff up.
Yeah.
And the Missouri Valley Conference has branded themselves the Valley. And it's
sick.
Omnipresent. I don't think I heard MVC more than once or twice. It's the Valley. And the branding is so on point. And, you and I are from that region of the country. And like MVC is not a big deal. Like there's probably no one who's going to watch our well, your dad's on here. Like most people have no idea where Valparaiso is. Like no one's ever heard of Valparaiso, and they're probably better for it, right? So, like Murray State and Evansville and like Belmont, like these teams aren't in real places. Like this conference exists on the fringe of like frontier America. Yeah. So for them to be branded so well and for the outbound corporate communication from the conference to the announcers to brand the Valley, I thought that was really, really cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I watched the basketball game, and Bradley is not good at anything. Bradley's an engineering school, and let me tell you what, these guys, you can tell they're there for basketball, not for engineering, because no geometry, no angles, no nothing. This Bradley team sucks. They are middle of the pack in literally every statistic you can look up. Viewers, if you see Bradley top 100 in a category you'd like to share with me, let's talk. Because I couldn't find one, and I looked through all kinds of rankings.
Yep.
This Bradley team is in second place in the MVC. Honestly, other than Drake, they're the second best team in the MVC, and they recruit that way and they play that way. This is the first game of theirs I'd watched. UNI beat their ass.
Is that Northern Idaho?
Iowa.
Oh, Jesus.
Iowa. And you lose games, right? You get beat, you lose games, you work on your stuff. Bradley quit. They quit in this game. So I'm putting Bradley on notice because you're probably not a tournament team. You've lost too many games to luck your way in unless you go on a monster run. and Drake's in the way if you're a monster run.
Right.
But the difference between you playing in the NIT and then the CBI is effort. It's effort. Show up. Getting blown out by you and I'm going to say something a little off color. You and I was like plus 14 in the second half with all white guys on the court.
Yeah, but that's when the teams are scariest. If you roll out all 5 white dudes, you know there's going to be a problem.
All made 3, missed 3, made 3, missed 3, made 3, missed 3. But the problem is that Bradley wasn't getting in their faces at all. Every missed 3 was because you're a backup point guard on UNI. Not a single missed 3 was because Bradley had a hand in their face.
No defensive pressure.
Yep. They're laughing on the bench and they're chumming it around. It was embarrassing. Embarrassing. Wow. My buddy Riley, who I don't believe watches this show, shout out Riley if you're here somehow. He's like, is Bradley like a really bad team?
But not historically. They've won games.
Not really, man. He's like, oh, because they play like a woman's team. And I go, well, that's probably not something we should say, but
you can't say.
I'm trying to be true. I'm trying to be true to the moment. Okay. So it was bad. It was bad. And so that's my call out for on notice. Bradley, I really need you to step up to the moment. And I understand if a game is lost, a game is lost. But I don't want to see your backup and third stringers on the court trying to play basketball and your starters like giggling with towels on their heads on the sideline. Grow the fuck up and play some basketball.
That was almost a Rutgers level rant right there. I like that. But it's frustrating though, because didn't Bradley go to the Final Four or some shit that one year? They did, right? Didn't they make that magical run?
They went deep. I don't know if it was Final Four.
They did something. They were just rampaging through the tournament. I remember that. So it's frustrating to see a historical team like that lose. Now, why don't you look that up real quick? And I'm gonna tee my next one up here because I'm pissed off. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm pissed off. I'm gonna start this by saying I like the University of Illinois. I like the people in Illinois. I like the Illinois mascot. I like the Illinois colors. I think they have a really cool basketball stadium. I think they have a really cool football stadium. And my cousin said the campus is lovely. That's the things that I like about Illinois, right? What I don't like about Illinois is how freaking trash their basketball team is. Lost by 10 to USC, beat Indiana by 25, lost to Michigan State by 2, lost to Maryland by 21, barely skated by Northwestern, and they should have lost to Ohio State if Ohio State had any sort of testicular fortitude, honestly. I cannot believe that in my opinion, a blue blood team like Illinois is a blue blood basketball team, not the rest of the sports, a basketball team can be this freaking bad. They're 6th in scoring offense. You're like, hell yeah, they must be real good. 1st in rebounding, 50 rebounds a game. Unbelievable team, right? Since the start of Big Ten play, they've dropped from 89 points a game to 85 points a game. Prior to Big Ten play, they were in the top 50 in field goal percentage. The top 50 in field goal percentage prior to Big Ten play. They are now 197th in the nation in field goal percentage at 44%. Top 50 to 197th. I'm not done. They're 222nd. I'm sorry, as a team in field goal percentage, 300th in 3-point percentage. Out of 10 Big Ten games, they've shot sub 43% 8 times and lost 4 of them. Sorry, I got a sore throat and I'm getting worked up here. I'm not done. I'm not done with them. They're pissing me off, right? Double-digit turnovers 9 times out of 10 Big Ten games. And they now rank 205th in the country in turnovers per game at 12. They don't share the ball well. They're 146th in the country in assists per game and 105th in assist to turnover ratio at 1.3. Sorry. 130th in scoring defense, 118th in the country in fouls committed. They are 314th in the country in turnovers forced per game. They're only forcing 10 turnovers a game, and the opponents are averaging forcing them into 12. They're losing the turnover battle every game. This This is the Illinois team that was at one point in our top 10, remained in our top 15. I think did I take them out? Yes, I took them out of my top 25 because I am so pissed off at them right now and how inconsistent.
They're also out of mine. Ken Palm 13 is what's keeping them in.
Yeah, they do not deserve that spot. They don't deserve the 25th spot. It should go to Vanderbilt. It should go to BYU. It should go to St. Mary's. It should go to Creighton. It should go to USF. It should go to Louisville. It should go to Drake. It should go to VCU. I can keep going if you want me to. You can't be in a Power 3 conference and have to play teams like Michigan State, Maryland, and Purdue and expect that you're just automatically going to be gifted an auto bid in the tournament. You're not. You're not. The lower end of your conference is getting too good for you to have this lackadaisical bullshit effort and expect to get into the tournament. I started all of this by saying that I like the things that I like about Illinois. I hope they don't make the tournament this year. I hope they don't make it. I hope they have enough bad losses by the end of this year, including another 30-point loss to Illinois and Maryland, that they don't get in. I'm done.
I'm fine with it.
So.
Fuck you, Brent Bielema.
Who is that? I don't even know who that is.
Football coach who quit on Wisconsin, and then his wife talked a whole bunch of shit about Wisconsin, and then he went to Arkansas and lost there, and now he's back at Illinois.
Yeah, I don't like that guy either. Strong.
Yeah. I did, however, receive a text message about my comparing Bradley to women's basketball. I apologize. What I meant, the way it should have come out was that Bradley takes low percentage shots and is unentertaining and unwatchable like women's basketball. Just wanted to clarify, I have no problem with women playing basketball. I hate poor execution.
Okay. So you just doubled down, right?
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, that was wild. Whoever texted him, text him again and say the same thing because obviously he didn't get it the first time.
There's no fixing this. It's the most boring sport in the world to watch.
I think my mom's watching
snooker and cricket.
Yeah. I think my mom's watching, so I can't, the WNBA is boring to watch. Women's college basketball is not.
All right, game of the week. Game of the week.
It's a good one.
Fun one. You ready for this?
Yep. It's going to be a good one right here. Oh, that's a sick. Yeah, where do you keep finding these, man? Goodness, that's
the internet, man. Reddit is undefeated.
Dude, that's sick.
Marquette St. John's. This is our game of the week. This one is going to be on Tuesday? Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. It's 4th.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep. Going to be a freaking awesome one, dude. And I love that St. John's has had 2 out of the last 3 games of the week. I think they deserve it.
I mean, it speaks to the way they're playing. It speaks to kind of where we are in the conference schedule for some other conferences.
Yeah, agreed.
Featuring the Big East is not necessarily what we want to do. However, here we are.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably the best game of this week. So why don't you take us? I just went on a rant.
Let's start with Marquette. I think we have a different kind of slant on Marquette. So, well, not really at the end of it. Mine starts more positive.
Mine does not. So let's start.
Marquette can play basketball.
Can or can't?
Or they can. CAN. They can play basketball. They are a dangerous team. My problem is that even in the games they've won, they've looked like a Big East team. And I don't mean that in the way that UConn is 2-time defending champion. I mean that in the way that these schools don't have any football programs and therefore are irrelevant on the national scale, except during basketball season. Marquette just doesn't look convincing. They shoot a ton. I think they're top 25 in the country in shots.
Attempts, not makes.
Correct. They missed a ton. Here it is. They're 30th in shooting. They're 177th in making those shots. This is my personal game of the week, and obviously the dead ball dancing game of the week featured on Chainlink. However, I think this is the end of the road for Marquette. I think Marquette is going to be exposed here. I think Marquette is going to lose more games than they win down the back half of their schedule.
Yep.
And I do not think Marquette makes the tournament.
Holy shiz, dude.
This game is the end of the road for Marquette. And having watched 3 of their games in the last 18 days, I haven't seen a single segment or run or comeback or performance or bit of grit that makes me think that this is a team that makes the tournament. Understanding they're ranked right now, and ESPN's probably going to make sure they're in the tournament, but they're going to lose their first game if they get in. This is the end of the road for Marquette.
Yeah, I agree. And I could definitely go on a Illinois-sized rant about Marquette. Again, Dwayne Wade went there. I like the way Dwayne Wade played NBA basketball. I like Marquette by extension. I do. What's like a kind way for me to put this? So it's strength versus strength, in my opinion, because Marquette doesn't have a strength on the offensive side of the ball, and I think St. John's outstrengths in the strength battle, in my opinion. So let me just quickly start with Marquette. It's defense versus defense, right? But the problem is, so St. John's is probably, in my opinion, the most physically imposing, best defense in the nation. 16th in turnovers a game, 17th in steals. They're top 30 in points allowed. They're top 20 in field goal defense. They're number 9 in rebounding. They're number 10 in the country in offensive rebounds. They don't really play offense. Like, I don't want to spend too much time on St. John's, but they can. They take really good care of the ball. They don't turn the ball over a lot, only 11 turnovers a game versus 16 assists, which is 60th in the country. And they're 67th best scoring offense in the country. They're very methodical on offense. They don't rush. They take their time. St. John's doesn't really have any glaring holes. They're a wildly good defensive team. Marquette might be offensively inept or developmentally challenged. I'm not sure what word I should use.
I'm gonna get another text.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. They're 175th in field goal shooting percentage, 240th in threes, 281st in free throws attempted, and 245th in free throws made. And overall, they're an 81st scoring offense. They're 290th in the country in rebounds versus St. John's, who is 27th in the country in rebounds. And they're losing the rebound margin every game. They're 280th in the country at a -1 rebound margin per game. So St. John's is good on defense. They rebound the ever-loving hell out of the ball, and they take care of the ball on offense. Marquette can't play offense. They don't rebound, and they have a 61st scoring defense in the country, and they're number 7th in the country in turnovers forced, but St. John's doesn't force or commit any turnovers. Marquette cannot shoot. You said it yourself. They take a lot, but they miss a whole ton. I don't think this is particularly close. I think this is St. John's by a double-digit margin, call it 11 to 14 points. And I think it's only 11 to 14 because Marquette jacks up threes late in the game to tighten a 20-point blowout to 11 to 14 points. St. John's is too put together. They're too consistent. Marquette is literally the opposite in every facet of their game. So I don't think this is particularly close.
Well, I'm glad they have the second spot here. I think this needs to be convincing for St. John's. They got UConn on Friday. They play Marquette again in their house to end the season.
Yep.
The St. John's team, like you said, they don't shoot much better than this Marquette team does, but their defense is elite. My concern is that what you talked about with the chucking up threes with Marquette happens earlier.
Got you. Yep.
St. John's will not win a boat race. If this gets flying, they're gonna be in trouble.
Yep.
I have St. John's winning this game. Model has them 3.5. I have this as a 1 point St. John's win.
1 point.
I have St. John's hitting the last shot and winning this game. In a second half, they let get away from them.
Gotcha.
And I am concerned about what that means for St. John's moving forward.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Because if you allow Marquette to boat race you, and they'll have to get hot, right? They'll have to get hot shooting, which isn't something they've done, but they take all the shots.
Yes.
You're going to chuck 33s, even at 22% shooting. It's points, right? It changes the flow of the game. And I'm concerned come tournament time what that means for St. John's. Because if the blueprint is they give you just enough space on the perimeter to chuck up threes, a good team will wreck St. John's. So what I want to see from them in this game is don't let that happen. Do not put that blueprint on film. If I can see it just based on what I've seen from you playing, the people that make a lot of money to scheme and game plan college basketball, they know it too. Yeah. Do not put proof positive on film. They need to guard the perimeter. They need to get out in front in this game and let their defense guide them.
Agreed.
My fear is that Marquette gets down too big in the first half and they start chucking with 5 minutes to go. In the last 25 minutes of this game is Marquette raining threes. They'll get too close. St. John's wins, but Marquette exposes them for every real team in college basketball.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the only way they win the game, right? And I'd be curious, and some research I'm going to do after this is you talked about the perimeter defense, and I don't know if Marquette has faced a team in the top 15 in the country in field goal defense. St. John's is number 15 in the country in field goal defense at 39.
I doubt it.
Right. So I
maybe Wisconsin. Maybe.
Oh, true. Wisconsin might be. In fact, I'm really quickly before we segue NCAA.
Oh yes, please pull it up and tell me how bad Wisconsin is. Yes.
So, no. They literally might be in the. No,
I just have their schedule up.
No, they haven't.
That's the only shot.
Yeah, they have not played a team in the top 15 in field goal defense, and St. John's is at 15 at 39% a game. So you're right. There's a blueprint there where they could, but there's no space, and I just don't know. That's why I'm leaning towards blowout. They get trigger happy. And I think they're going to be forced late into the shot clock on a lot of their possessions to where they're taking step backs from 30 feet, praying that shit goes in. Hell of a game. Again, Rick's got him by 1. I got him by 11-14. Let's see who gets closer.
Model's 3.5.
Yep.
I'm trying to see if the lines are up. Is there anything else that you wanted to call out from our top 25 in general or this game?
If you don't mind, we haven't talked about Auburn once this year. They look vulnerable. They're going to remain the number 1 seed. They're going to be the number 1 seed overall in March Madness. Don't fret too hard. Where were my stats? Come on. 210th in the country in free throw attempts, 88th in the country in free throw percent, and 171st in the country in free throws made per game. Watch out. NCAA tournament games are going to be much tighter than what they've experienced so far. Just be careful. They only beat South Carolina by 3, Georgia by 2, and Tennessee by 2. Be careful, Auburn. Missouri disrespect has to stop. It has to stop. Missouri is going to end the SEC conference play as the 2nd seed in the SEC tournament. Mark my words.
I like it.
That's it. Thank you.
We're filming a little early, so no odds for tomorrow out yet. But yeah, Model's 3.5, Red Storm. A couple show notes. Bradley has not been to a Final Four since 1954.
What was the run they were?
They were eliminated in the first round in 2018. They lost the second round in 2005. So you might be remembering a different team, but it was not Bradley.
Darn. Okay.
Wanted to take the opportunity to say that I did watch 47 WNBA games last year, and it was awful.
Still
we'll just triple down on that.
Yeah.
God damn One call out for you, Justin, not so much for our people here, but because we're kind of doing some show notes. Drake, 64 in Ken Palm. McNeese State, 65. So, yeah, McNeese trending in the right direction. I saw them when I was doing some research today.
Yep. They're still my mid-major of the year, man. I still think they're going to make a run. Would love to see it, dude. I think that, they tried Alabama early in the season. They've had some shitty losses, but keep an eye on those two. I like that Drake McNeese pairing. Is McNeese also Missouri Valley? Are they?
No,
they're not.
No, I can't remember off the top of my head. If you give me a couple
seconds, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Who's Google from his
number one? They're
baby.
Number one in the Southland. They're 10-1 in conference. They're gonna win that conference. Let's go, dude. Let's go. Yes.
If you have not played our free-to-play game, Chainlink, and you think we're wrong on some of our picks, you can pick Marquette to upset St. John's on Chainlink. It's going to be on there. It's free to play. All you got to do is string together wins. Literally sitting around the water cooler, hanging out with your buddies. Like, hey, I think this team wins tonight. You can pick them on Chainlink. Start your chain, trying to have the most consecutive wins as you can. Harder than it seems. Harder than it seems. Even the most grizzled bettors can't pick 3 games straight in a row. In about an hour, East Coast time, The Bachelor is on tonight. I know what you might be thinking as a sports fan, as an NCAA college basketball fan. Why would I want to watch The Bachelor? Let me tell you. You know that feeling when your team dunks on somebody? They got to hang on the rim because they dunk so hard there's no landing space?
Yeah.
That's what the girls on The Bachelor are doing to each other every minute of this show. It's all just dunking on each other.
It's that bad.
But more importantly, the after show. 8:15 Arizona time, which translates to what? 10 o'clock Eastern? 10 o'clock Eastern time, live on the channel. Row Show recap, where I'll jump into all the drama that happened. May or may not have special guests. It depends on how intoxicated they get in the Central Time Zone. So, Chainlink for sports, Rose League for drama, Dead Ball Dancing for hot basketball takes.
And if you're not going to do the first two, please put your pick. I've been asking for I don't know how long. What episode is this? 14? 14 episodes. I've been asking you guys to put it in the comments, and the only person commenting is my father. And he doesn't know how to use YouTube comments. Okay? Stop getting outsmarted by an 85-year-old man. Please.
I almost switched YouTube accounts the other day so I could drop my my personal pick in the comments.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it in the comments. I'm going to put my dad's in the comments because he's going to text me after the show. Please put it in the comments. Christ. Sorry.
All right. There's your call to action, guys. If you do not put it in the comments, there's no more Dead Ball Dancing.
No. Jesus Christ. No, we're not going
it ends here. It ends here.
I'm going to put it in the comments.
It's their pick in the comments. This is our last episode.
Don't listen to them. We still got March Madness. So
I'll start a new show.
Live ball dancing. Actually,
all right. Thanks for joining us. DBD. Check out the game of the week tomorrow. Marquette and St. John's featured on Chainlink. The best way to pick your sports winners.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Man. This was a fun one. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for dealing with my anger and my pissiness due to my little stomach flu. Looking forward to next week, man. Big slate of basketball coming up this week. BYU, Arizona tomorrow night. Tune in. U of A by 5 to 6 points.
And drop your favorite WNBA team in the comments, too.
Please don't.